All right, Southwest Florida, welcome to another edition of Lee Pitts Live. We're so excited that you put on your list of things to do. We have a fabulous and a special show here. We're going to get a chance to talk to the legal profession, I would say. The big wheels are here. The big guns are here. We get a chance to talk to the Honorable Archie Hayward, who's a judge for Lee County, 20th Circuit. Also, we get a chance to talk to Judge Adams, retired now, Judge, Lee County, 20th Circuit. And of course, the mayor, the senator of Fort Myers, our famed attorney, the senator of Dunbar, Joe North. All are here on Lee Pitts Live. We'll be right back. All right, Southwest Florida, welcome back. So without further ado, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I always want to say that, fellas. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. Everybody knows that he is the judge. Y'all wouldn't know about that. Y'all not old enough to remember Roden and Martin laughing. Yeah. You old enough to remember?
I know it.
How about you, Joe? You old enough?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we got the judges here. Look, these guys, I've known these guys over 30 years, and whenever they come on the show, it's a big deal to me. So first of all, I want to thank you guys, the judges, for coming on the show, and of course, my good friend, Joe North, to make that happen. Welcome to Lee Pitts Live.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Let's pay a tribute to Honorable Judge Adams, who has served immaculately as our circuit court judge for the 20th Circuit. He's now retired. I did not get invited. I saw pictures. I'll work on getting my rep up. I may get an invitation that when Archie retires, Judge Hayward. But anyway, that's cool, Judge. Say something about Judge Adams that let's just reflect on him and what he has meant to you and to the community.
Well, I am so proud to say that when I came into my first job, Judge Adams was there as an assistant public defender, and he was able to help me. I won't say mentor, I won't give him all that responsibility, but he coached me along the way because as a young public defender coming in, you did not have much training, but we had on-the-job training and very good coaches, like I said, Judge Adams, Markham Renard, he was there, and quite a few others, Bob Jacobs. So we had pretty good people there who were really dedicated to that position. So I got a lot of help from him, and I've never been in the legal field without Judge Adams.
Isn't that something? Okay. Joe North, Judge Adams.
Yeah, so when I came back to town a little more than 30 years ago, one of the first attorneys that I met is Judge Adams, and he was an attorney back then.
Okay.
And we would meet sometimes monthly, maybe every other month, with the National Bar Association, which was our local association for black lawyers. And it was a part of that, as well as some other social events, that I would lean on Judge Adams and listen to his wisdom so that I would know how to navigate in my profession here in town, but also how to navigate socially as a lawyer. So he really laid out a blueprint for me that I followed then and that I still follow today. And I'm forever thankful for that.
Now, Judge Adams, you're sitting here, he's always calm and cool. I've never seen you get flustered on anything. Even when I was slam dunking on you on the basketball court back in the 90s, I had to get that in. Yeah, my show, I can slide that in. But I let people know that Judge Adams had a nice little basketball game too. I used to see him on the basketball court, and he came on my show way back in the early 90s before Lee Pitts Live was actually up close with Lee Pitts. And Judge, what I remember when you used to come on the show, it was always about these trials and mock trials, and you would bring these students on the show who had aspirations in law, in the court system and all of that. You were a judge at that point, or that was before you were a judge? Let's go like 1993. Were you a judge at that point?
I had actually taken a bench in January of 1993.
Right.
And probably a lot of the trials that you had were either mock trials or teen court, something along those
Yes.
lines. The mock trial cases were ones where high schools competed against each other, and they were put together legal teams. They present arguments before judges, and some lawyers have presiding as judges, and some of the teen court issues were situations of involving juveniles in juvenile court where sanctions will be imposed by their peers.
It has never left you, that whole passion about introducing children, youth to that profession, getting them involved. Talk about where that came from and how it had all just been a part of your DNA.
It's always been a means of sort of giving back a little bit. I think kids learn by exposure. I think the more you expose them to, the more aspirations they may have along the way.
Now, when you were listening to Honorable Judge Hayward, and I'm trying to make sure I do the formal stuff, and Attorney Joe North talk about you, let's get you to give me your thoughts about these young lawyer and attorney who are looking up to you. How did you view the young Judge Hayward coming in with all of that responsibility, that you had some knowledge of what was going on?
Well, going back to the time that Judge Hayward, then lawyer Hayward, came in, and Joe North coming in at the same time, I was just glad to have some company, because when I first got here, there were no other black lawyers in town at all. There was Judge Anderson, who was a county judge at that particular time, so I was always welcome to have other minority lawyers to sort of interact with, and just we can learn from each other at the same time. So I was glad to see them.
Well, I'm glad you brought up race, so I would bring it up first. Okay, everybody see you sitting here, and one of the things that I do with this television show is I don't spend a lot of time on race. I just show race, and then people think race. Okay, now let's go to you, Judge Hayward. The fact that he said he could see somebody who looked like him, there's still automatically a bond between people who from similar backgrounds, look alike culturally. There's a certain bond that just naturally takes place?
Yes, I think people who have similar backgrounds and similar experience, they sort of gravitate toward each other, and that's, I think, a natural thing. And we did so in the with the idea of trying to better ourselves and to make a difference in the community, because the Bar Association has voluntary bars and bar associations, which means attorneys can come together and form a bar association, which is voluntary, and those members who have like ideas can join. So we created the Southwest Florida Bar Association that was part of, now it's called the what is it? Isaac Anderson Bar Association, and so we're affiliated with the National Bar Association, and the Virgil Hawkins is the Florida Association that all the voluntary bars from Florida participate in. So we, when I say we, James Adams, Jackie Hubbard, Donald Isaac, and there were some Naples attorneys, Jane Rose, and her husband at the time, Gerald Rose, and
Judge Anderson.
Basil, I can't remember his last name, but he's in Naples now. And quite a few people basically came together or have been in the voluntary bar from over the years. So we sort of get together and try to provide legal information to the community and to those people who would otherwise not get it.
I see. Now, we mentioned Judge Isaac Anderson. Let's make sure it's not every day I'm going to get you guys sitting here. Let's make sure we let people who may not be familiar with his contribution go to you on that, Attorney Joe North.
Well, yeah, so Judge Anderson was a lawyer first, and then he was elevated to being a judge. And it shouldn't be lost upon your listeners and your viewers that at the time that he was a judge, James Adams was the only practicing African-American attorney here.
Really?
So as we all trickle in over the years, we look at Judge Anderson, we look at a James Adams or Archie Hayward, and we see, and when I say we, I'm not talking about just members of the bar, the attorneys, but the public, because we all want to have confidence in our system, our judicial system. And when we can walk into a courtroom and see someone that looks like us, it makes us believe in the system more. It makes us have more confidence in the system. And it shouldn't be lost that James Adams was practicing here all by himself as an African-American
That's
attorney.
hard for me to imagine.
And now we've got, I think, maybe about 40 African-American attorneys in the 3-county area. And we've grown a lot, but we still got a long ways to go.
Right. Outstanding. Go ahead.
One of the first black female lawyers that came back to Fort Myers was Janice Cass.
Janice Cass.
Right.
From Fort Myers.
Right, because I came in when I came in, Janice was already a lawyer. I think she was doing something, but and then Judge Adams was there, but I didn't know how singularly contribution he had done at that time. I was just taking it for granted. He's just like easy going as usual. I was just dunking on him, and I didn't even know I was dunking. I was taking him to the hoop, laying it off with the left, and then switching over to the right.
You were taking it more easy on him, right?
Yeah, I didn't know I was doing that to the trailblazer there. But go back to you, Judge Adams. Is talk about how you ended up in the market, because when you ended up in the market, even though you directly, indirectly won't take credit for it, that was a role model based on what Joe is telling me, the young up and coming lawyer. Tell us how you ended up here. You came from out of town, but you've been here the majority of your adult life.
Actually, my entire legal career has been right here in Lee County. When I graduated from law school, I made a conscious decision I was going to come back to Florida. All I remember was sunshine, beaches, and fishing. And I was looking for a town that was not really a large town. Being originally from Miami, I lived over there, realized I didn't want to live in Miami. I wanted a town that had a lot of potential for growth and things like that. Fort Myers sort of fit the bill.
That's in the 80s?
1982 is when I graduated from law school.
Name your law school. We're going to give them some little...
North Carolina Central University, one of the HBCUs.
Okay, and then go undergrad for us right quick.
Hampton University, or Hampton Institute back at the time, another HBCU.
Right, so me and you basically full HBU in terms of our education. I want to drop that in there. Me, Talladega College, and Clark Atlanta University as it's known now, okay? Go ahead.
And Fort Myers just sort of fit the bill in terms of size and everything else. I applied to mostly cities that were of Fort Myers size. I had an interview with Doug Midgley, who was the public defender at the time. He offered me the job. I came over here. And you couldn't beat the scenery. I drove over the Caloosahatchee Bridge and the Edison Bridge and all that, and just the city just sort of fit with exactly what I was looking for. And I've stayed here. I've enjoyed the time that I've been here. I think the folks in Lee County have been very good to me in terms of electing me, first time around and everything else. So I've been very pleased to be here in Lee County altogether.
What are you going to do in your retirement?
I have projects right now. I'm going to do a little travel initially. Then I have some projects that I need to do along the way. But I'm going to remain in the community. Like I say, I enjoy being here this time, so I'm not going to abandon the community in my retirement. So.
Okay. Now, going back to you, Judge Hayward, what are some changes that you've seen since the time that you started as a judge into the way things operate now in terms of the legal system here locally?
Well, one thing I'd like to say is that the opportunities have gotten better because we have the two of us, James and myself, we went into public sector. And then now Joe came in, he went into a private firm right away. And James was at the county attorney's office, and he opened up that office, and Andrea Frazier has been there for quite a few years and has contributed substantially to the county's office in legal. James Holloway now is in there. So again, when you have people like James, Andrea, and James Holloway going into those sectors, it makes a difference. And now I think there's a lot of opportunities that before you were not sure that were there. And because now we have more attorneys, they're dispersed all around you. And we see them when they come before us, but then I have to look and say, oh, this is a new attorney. Where are you? And what type of law you're practicing?
And even when we see like the attorney for the Lee County School Board, Kathy Bruno.
Right,
and we see other attorneys for the Lee County School System who are African American. All of that things just start to break down a lot of barriers, right?
Right. And Victor Arias was previously at the school board. He was one of the first attorneys that was there.
Okay, so we're let's make. I know we're dropping a lot of names. I want to make sure we, along the way, drop as many names as we want. I saw a magazine profile spread on you guys some months ago. It gave me this idea. I need to get all of you guys together. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a female. I don't want to miss her name. Call her name. What she did. Right. And that was a great profile to just to see you guys there standing by the railroad track. I think y'all moved from the track on one picture. Y'all at that old station. I just noticed stuff and I said, hey, we got to get you on. Now, okay, so opportunities have changed. How about the way you go about what you do in terms of the judicial process? Is it still pretty much the same as it was back then in terms of the courthouse?
Oh, wow. We've been through so many changes. When I came in, we were still over on Monroe Street, and actually our offices were on the first floor because they were changing them because they didn't have enough space. And then we ended up with the 10th floor towers. So that in itself was a big change because then that put us all together on the same floor. And we now have 8 county court judges, with James' space being getting ready to be filled soon, and then because of the new procurement of a 9th county court judge, we will have 9 county court judges. That spot has not been filled yet.
And all the judges are elected by the county?
Right, every 6 years.
6 whole years, huh?
Yes, so I was elected in 2016. My next election will be 2022.
Man, it just seemed like just yesterday that you were running, man. That time goes fast.
Well, it goes fast, and
hopefully you won't be opposed. But you don't have to say anything. But let's make sure we support Judge Archie Hayward. That's me saying it.
He should not be opposed. If he is, he's got my vote.
And now you just mentioned 2 seats basically that are going to be available. That brings to mind my good friend Joe North, who looks like a judge, act like a judge, got legal background. You could go right in there and fill in where Judge Adams is leaving. Come on, Archie, Joe North, are you interested in becoming a judge?
Well, I say never say never.
Oh, okay, breaking news.
Currently, I am very happy doing what I'm doing, practicing law, because I've got that direct help of people. If I ever decide to become a judge, though, I'm almost certain that I would want to become a county court judge and not a circuit court judge. And it's because I think that the county court judges have more of an impact on the community, more of an impact on really justice for our community rather than the circuit court judges. So if I ever go down that road, it would be to follow in the footsteps of Judge Hayward and Judge Adams.
Right, so let's make sure we educate people who are watching this show and just fascinated to see you guys sitting here. Just differentiate Judge Adams between a county court judge. You are a county court judge, you and Honorable Judge Hayward, but the circuit court is something else. Just kind of Sesame Street all of that for us for educational purposes.
It's a matter of jurisdiction in terms of the types of cases that we hear. There are certain cases that are exclusively within the purview of county court, those being misdemeanors, DUIs, criminal traffic. We handle small claims court cases that are under, right now they just changed the jurisdiction, so it's under $30,000. Actually, the small claims court is $8,000, and then county civil cases $30,000. That's going to increase in a couple of years and go up to $50,000. And in terms of the amount of controversy involved in the case, if you have a breach of contract case and it's a civil case, and the amount of the damages that you claim are, say, $25,000, you're going to see a county court judge. If it's like maybe $50,000 right now, it may go to a circuit court judge. Circuit court judges cover a 5-county area. Judge Hayward mentioned a little while ago that the 20 judicial circuits comprise of 5 counties: Henry Glaze, Charlotte Lee, and Collier. They can hear cases circuit-wide. The county court judges are primarily hear cases within the county for which they are elected. There may be occasions where we may be appointed a county court judge specifically for a particular case where there may be a conflict with another judges or a group of judges in another county.
Got you. I'm acting like I got you anyway.
So,
back to you, Joe North. Joe, when we get the ballots in general, we see these judges up for election and we don't really know. Is that something that we as citizens, I'll come to you judges on that as well, especially you, Archie, we need to know what when we're voting on a judge? We need to How do we really know what we're doing?
Well, judicial races are nonpartisan, so it's not Democrat, Republican, anything like that. So I say to the average citizen, get to know the person. And most times you can do that by just asking around the community, because I know that before Judge Hayward became Judge Hayward, before Judge Adams became Judge Adams, they were both very, very heavily involved in our community, doing things in the community, everything from the church or refereeing Little League baseball. So you get to know them that way, and then you can kind of feel what type of person they're going to be as a judge.
Now, Judge Hayward, you guys came from the legal background, attorneys and all of that. Does a judge have to have that type of a background?
Yes, in the state of Florida, it's an elected position. In order to qualify to be considered a judge, you have to have at least 5 years as an attorney and in good standing with the Florida bar. And of course, then it's all the other rudimentary stuff that you have to do, make a filing. It's a payment that you have to pay to file an application, and then, or you can get signatures. But again, it's a process.
Will people be surprised to know, and I think I found that out from you years ago when I was interviewing you for one reason or another, that there are some places that you don't have to have a legal background to be a judge. I was shocked to hear that.
Well, in some areas, most areas now, you have to have some legal backgrounds, but at one time, Florida allowed people to become judges without having a legal degree. But though I think they went out before, I think the last one that was went out probably a little bit right in the latter 80s.
Maybe Judge Parsons out in the Hendrick County.
Right, and so he was one of the last remaining ones. But some of the states out west may, and in different places, still have that possibility. But for the most part, you have to have some legal backgrounds. And the judges also have magistrate and hearing officers. Judges are elected, and then you must have some legal background in order to be a judge, and they require at least 5 years. Also, that these are positions that assist judges with certain cases, and that there are magistrates and hearing officers that also have to have some type of legal background to basically sit in on those cases and then give recommendations that the judges then will confirm.
Now, to see you, all three of you sitting here, it is totally a symbol of opportunity. Given opportunity, you can succeed here in Lee County, or even in America for that matter. I mean, it's a tremendous image to see. What you see, how you see people, and Judge Adams, what were you looking at back then? Who were you looking at? What was your image that you were seeing as you were matriculating in a historical black college? Was Thurgood Marshall a part of that? Thurgood Marshall is always a part of that whole big picture?
Yes, he was. Julius Chambers was a role model, and there were some other lawyers who had tried some of the civil rights cases back. And these are folks that I saw when I was in law school that tried the City of Charlotte versus Mecklenburg School District, things like that, that dealt with discrimination type issues. It made me think, coming out of law school, that I was going to end up doing civil rights litigation in federal court. I see. And that's probably the only thing during my career that I did not get to, because this judgeship thing sort of intervened in the meanwhile and just sort of took control of my career, which I'm very glad. Because
you really didn't see yourself being a judge. That wasn't even in the plans.
It was not in the plan at all. And the opportunity sort of presented itself. A circuit judge who I had practiced in front of put the sort of the bug in a lawyer's ear to tell me that I should run for a vacancy that was just created by the resignation of another judge and another judge running for that particular spot. So I put my name in. There were, I think, 5 other candidates that ran. It ended up being a race ultimately down between Judge Frank Porter, who's now a judge, between he and I sort of edged Frank Porter out and won the election in 1992. I
see. Now, if I remember, Judge Hayward, you were appointed too, and then you ran. Give us that process. People will look at.
So the 2 ways you can be appointed is the first, and the governor gets to appoint from a list of people that were submitted by the Judicial Nominating Committee. And the Judicial Nominating Committee is made up of lawyers and some citizens of Lee County. And people can apply for those positions, and especially if you're a citizen, you would have to apply through the governor's office, I believe. But they're the ones that will interview the attorneys that apply to become a judge. And so I was appointed in 2008 after being selected out of, the original number was 23, then it was whittled down to 6. And out of those 6, I believe 5 are judges from different periods of time. But you're then expected to be ready to run for election after the 2-year period. And then so I was in my first election in 2010. Mm-hmm. And so it's just part of the job, and you have to. Yeah,
but I remember whenever I see you running, though, it just seems to me like, why does you have to run? Everybody knows that you've done an outstanding job, but you still have to run. And you probably won't like me saying this, but I don't think that you feel comfortable out there running. I just think that you like to just do your job, but you have to do that part too. Go ahead, tell me,
right.
Is that the case, right?
So that's a perception, and I've learned in this job that perception is has a big bearing on what people believe is the reality. But in fact, I do like
that
being in the public, because as a judge, it's one of the occupations that you feel most isolated from.
Okay.
Because when I go out in the public and I introduce myself as Archie, they're like, oh, hi, how are you? But then if they say, well, what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm one of the 8 county court judges. And it's like, oh, you treat it so differently. And it's because of the position, not because of me. But when I'm having to go out in the community, I do not mind meeting the people, because I'm a people person.
I see.
I enjoy people. I want the best for people, and I've always wanted to help people. And again, when you asked previously what was your expectation when I went into law, it was to help people. When I got to be a judge, it was to help people. And it was something that it wasn't that I just had to be a judge, but someone saw in me and suggested it. And it was more than one person, because they kept saying, you ought to be a judge.
Mm-hmm. You look like one.
And one person was
Both of you.
so persistent that I couldn't keep running away from it. Mm-hmm. And so I do my best to be the best judge I can. And one of the things you asked about the changes, we now have what we call our continuing education courses for judges. We're now able to do them on the computer virtually, whereas before we had to go to meetings or conferences. And when I started, they had 2 conferences, but then they canceled one. And then we ended up with one conference through the year where all the judges from around Florida come together. And they discuss different topics so that they can bone up on the law or the positions. And then last year, it was canceled. We didn't even have a conference, but they jumped right on it and started giving us virtual classes. And the National Judicial College out of Las Vegas provides also classes that judges can participate in. And so it's been wonderful. So virtually, we are really making advances for the judicial process.
And I'm thinking that a lot of that is, you can correct me on this, Judge Adams, and I'll come to you in a second, Joe North. That virtual process, is that a result of COVID?
Right. We've gone to what's called Zoom proceedings because of the social distancing and everything else. Normally on our criminal dockets, we may have, say, for instance, at a particular court event, upwards of maybe 150 or 200 people at one particular time. There was no way possible to accommodate that situation in the courthouse setting and run an efficient docket. So with the invent or the utilization of the Zoom proceedings, it allows us to efficiently and effectively use our dockets. One thing about the Zoom hearings also, I think it's probably pretty much here to stay at this point. I think it's a very valuable tool for those who have disabilities, so they don't have to worry about traveling and things like that. They can sit in the luxury of their homes, bedrooms, or wherever they might be, and still participate in the court proceedings. So it's made it more efficient in terms of utilization and access to the court system at the same time. So certain parts of that I think will continue to remain.
That's what I was going to say. I think some of that's going to carry over.
Yes.
Yes.
And you guys like that?
Oh, certainly,
Do
because
you, when you're online, do you still get that robe on and everything?
we
Looking all
still have the robe on, but we still have to remind people this is a court proceeding and you must conform to as if you were in court, although you're at home and some people still may be in their bed, but we are there to conduct a judicial process.
Back to you, Judge Adam. What has all of these court TV shows that we see over the years, Judge this, Joe Brown, Judge Divorce Court, all of this, and we think that's the way it really works. Is that like more theater than reality?
It's more theater than reality. It's made for entertainment purposes only, but in some respects, it gives the people, somewhat of an idea of the type of proceeding that may go on in court. But sometimes the rules of evidence are somewhat relaxed. The theatrics are different than what actually happens in court, and how people act in general, that's generally not what happens in court.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad I got that in. I've been wanting to get that in when you guys are sitting there watching that stuff. Now, Joe, and I want you guys to chime in on this as we start to wrap this up. We know there are 2 seats that are going to be available. At the highest level, I guess we're at the state or whoever is the governing body of all of these judges in the state, do they have a diversity mindset? Is that talked about out loud? Or are we trying to make sure that our courts are kind of show a wide range of people sitting in those judges' seats? And is that important? Joe, I'll go with you on is that important, and I'll go with you guys on what's being talked about in the world of judges.
It's absolutely important. And in the early 90s, I was appointed by Governor Lawton Childs to serve on the local judicial nominating commission.
That's what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember then it was Governor Childs' concern that we did not have enough diversity on the bench in terms of race and also in terms of gender. So as we did our business on that commission, of course we were seeking out the most qualified candidates, but at the same time we were trying to be a body that placed diversity in these judgeships, whether it be African Americans or Hispanics or women or a combination. And I think that that's still the effort today. I don't think that that's changed among the commission or among the governor's office. So
go to you, Judge Adam, come to you on this, Archie. It's talked about out loud? I mean, they see you, they say, do they ask you for advice? What are some things?
Normally I'll get a call from folks on the Judicial Nominating Committee in terms of what I think about some of the candidates that are there. And I don't know the statistic in particular, but I did hear Governor DeSantis talk about the appointments that he had made during his time being a governor, and it seemed to him what he was saying was that his appointments are pretty level across the board between white males, females, and other minorities. If you looked at that, he was saying he was pretty much 50-50 in there. I don't know whether that's true. That's his statement, but I'm sure the statistics will bear it out in terms of what's actually happened.
So it sounds like the blinders are not down in the modern era on things like that. Go, Judge Hayward.
Well, we're always concerned about diversity in regards to making sure the citizens of Lee County are represented and they see that there's a fair disbursement of the people who are making decisions. And fortunately, in Lee County, we've been able, with our 8 judges, we had 4 women and 4 men. So it's always been quite a bit of diversity because all of us come from different backgrounds. We worked with each other, we worked against each other because some of them were state attorneys and we were public defenders, and then some people that come from the private sector as well. So it's really been, I think, I want to say before COVID, we just had a very close-knit group. Of course, COVID, I think it feels like we were all in our own offices and couldn't really get together. We did virtual meetings, and that was the first time that we had ever been apart as a group, and especially in county court because we're such a smaller group. And the circuit court judges, it's like 50-something
circuit-wide.
50-something circuit court judges, and they're dispersed in the 5 counties. So each county has their own county court judges. I think Collier County has 4, is it?
They have 5 down there.
5 down in Collier County, and so Charlotte has 3. So we have different numbers. So when you're that small a number, you can be very, on par with each other, at least friendly and being cooperative, because we have to really help each other, especially with our different dockets, because all of our dockets are the same in Lee County, but we're actually getting ready to change our docket.
What's the docket?
So each judge has a calendar, and they call their cases for criminal, civil, traffic cases, small claim court, and first appearance. And so each one of those is like a different week that you would be doing something.
I see.
And so we've put together a schedule now that will sort of change it from everybody doing the same thing to, like, we're expecting that there's possibly maybe 6 judges will do one docket and 3 judges will do the other dockets, which is civil and criminal, and then a lot of it will be covered because we'll be doing some of the same things. But all beforehand, all 8 had criminal and civil dockets. So, but each judge will have the small claim docket, so they'll still be doing some civil, but because of the numbers and the change in the amounts for small claim and county court, civil and circuit court, now we will be getting more cases. So the cases at the circuit court's jurisdiction was responsible for will be shifted to us. So now because we see that there's a trend for civil cases to be going up.
Interesting, very interesting. Boy, people at home are just going to stay enjoying this. Now, you in the middle, you are a capitalist. You are a attorney who can make money. I'm getting to my question, Joe.
Okay, all right.
It's going to still come out positive. It doesn't sound like you were ever in the private sector, Judge Adams. I think you were already would that be public sector, right?
Yes.
You were in the private sector for a minute.
Right.
Right. Now, I ain't gonna get into your salaries. I know you make a decent amount of money, but you still, when you go into the judge world, that's why when I was asking Joe about being a judge, he will still have to sacrifice some income earning potential because you have a set salary as a judge, right?
Right.
Right. Speak to that, Joe. How are you going to feel if you were to become a judge, having a set salary?
Well, again, if I go down that road, and it is possible, at this point in my career, I'm not concerned about the money. I've been doing this for over 30 years, okay? At this point, it's about what can I do for this community.
Okay.
That's why you call me the senator, okay?
Right.
And what I try to do is help the community as much as I can. And when I get to the point that I think that I can do an even better job at that by being a judge, then that might be one of the reasons why I would go down that road.
I
but
see.
Money's not the concern for me.
Right. So to put a bow on that, to the young people who are looking at you guys now, they'll talk about you years later. They saw this show and it inspired them. To go into that profession, one should not go into that profession looking to become a judge, to get rich then, right?
Well, right.
Judges make pretty good. So.
We make a very good salary. However, it is a salary, and you're expected to do your job no matter what. And so our hours can go from like 8 in the morning to before COVID.
We don't see all of this
night.
behind the scenes work y'all do.
Right, and then we have to have a duty judge that's on call from Tuesday to Tuesday, 24/7. And so we do a lot, and then we cover stuff for other judges, and there's so many things that I didn't anticipate. I didn't know that judges had to become referees. I didn't know that judges had to be the person to say that, emancipate a person and say, oh yeah, you can get married even if you're below the legal age. There's so many things that is a part of our job description that when it's like, oh, I wasn't sure that was in there, but it is there. And so we do a lot of different things, and we try to be a part of the community as well, because the Supreme Court has said that, we want judges out there so people can see them.
They do want that.
They want people to understand that we are judges and we hold a certain position, and they want us to respect that. And so they have basically issued an edict that says you you will do your best.
Well, I'm glad that you gave me that opening on that. So, Judge Adams, even though you're retired, piggybacking on what Judge Hayward said, is you guys are not like ivory tower. You don't. We see you as ivory. You know, a lot of people see y'all as ivory tower with those robes on, but you actually want to be like a part of the community.
Absolutely.
I said that to get to this though. I want to go back to, we see you guys deliberating in court, but it's so much happens before then and after then that we don't see. A lot of work, huh?
Right. Well, there's a lot of preparation that goes into hearing a particular case. We obviously have to know the issues. You know, the more issues or more advanced preparation that we look at prior to the case actually being heard, the easier or quicker we can render a decision. Ideally, if we can render a decision the day of the event, particularly for civil cases, we can do that. Criminal cases, often it's the jury that makes the decision, or the decision's made that day at the conclusion of all the evidence.
Amazing. You glad to be retired now?
It's been a nice run.
You're not going to miss, are you going to miss it?
I will miss it, but it's time to go in and provide an opportunity for someone else.
I heard Joe say to you, one day you're going to get up and on your way to work, get up and be driving to work and you're going to realize it. And you said that's not going to happen.
That's like dementia.
Oh, man.
Lee, for one thing, though, Judge Adams has been our county court administrative judge for how long?
Long time.
What does that mean?
Probably 15 years.
For 15 years. So the circuit, the 20th Judicial Circuit, elects a chief judge who is now Judge McHugh. And he has had like 4 terms, which is really unprecedented, but because of the times that we were in, he has been our chief judge. And the chief judge always appoints someone in each circuit and the county courts to assist him with, say, keeping organization among the judges in the county court and circuit court. And Judge Adams has been that person for our county court for 15 years.
That sounds like extra work too, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's leadership.
Yes.
Look at it, it's leadership is what it is.
But does more money come with that? I'm just a capitalist.
I'm not a capitalist.
Well, it's a lot of work. They
Yeah, sounds
organize
like it.
with the clerk of court, with the county court administrators, tries to be the liaison between the county court judge and the circuit judges. And when there's matters that affect all of us, then he brings that back. And Judge Palak has also assisted in
A lot of stuff
in
going
the
on behind the
recent
scenes
years.
that we don't realize, huh?
Yeah.
I just think things smooth. You got judges having effects. He would be the first African American locally in that role.
I'm sure.
I like to document history.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's leadership.
Unless Judge Anderson had it at some point in time, but I can't remember.
And
I wasn't.
actually, just from another historical perspective, and it was mentioned in the article that was done by the Lee County Bar Association. Judge Anderson was the first black judge in Lee County. I was the first black judge never to have been appointed before to run for a countywide office and win.
Right.
Back in
Huge, a Herculean effort. Joe, you just sit here soaking all this up like the little brother.
Because I'm really in awe of these 2 judges. And even though he's retired, he'll always be judge to me. And I will say this, even though I've known both of them for over 30 years, you know, my entire legal career, and I know them by their first names, when I am out in public, I give them that honor. You know, I don't call them by their first names when I'm at a function. I call them, you know, Judge Adams and Judge Hayward, because I think that the people, the public, need to understand that there's a lot of prestige that comes with what they do, and they shouldn't be taken for granted.
Judge Adams, when we see Joe North in the community now, you know, he's conceivably probably one of the most popular attorneys in all of Southwest Florida in terms of visibility, in terms of just beloved and popularity and respected for his work. That kind of element did not exist in your days when you arrived here. We had attorneys that were as popular as like a Joe North. That's huge.
Well, it is, and Joe's legacy is that he was the first black lawyer to come here and go to a private firm.
I see.
That was
is
huge
true.
for the community because, you know, even I think when Joe got here, I was working for the not public firms, the county attorney's office at that particular time. I made some applications to some of the firms around here, had not been able to break that barrier. Joe
Really?
came in and did it. So
That's when you were saying about opportunity, that fell within that concept too, when you say opportunity. Because see, we don't know, we on the other side, we don't know what it is like. I didn't know that was a big deal. When I first met Joe, he was at Henderson, Franklin, and Stern, but I didn't know that was something that was like not normal. I just thought it was normal. Joe, you never told me that did you know at the time that you were the first one?
I did, but had they not come before me and excelled in the practice of law here, I don't know that I would have had that opportunity. But the bar was able to see excellence before I arrived, and that made it easier for me with them, with Judge Anderson, Jackie Hubbard, and some others. So, yeah.
Right. You want to add anything to that before we wrap it up?
Well, yes, Joe is. Joe, what school did you graduate from? Undergrad?
Oh, the Citadel.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right. Where did you go to law school?
Florida State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and I went to Edison my first 2 years, which was, a tremendous advantage
Which
for
is now
me.
FSW. People just got here.
And we had people who supported us there. One was Judge Anderson's wife, Audrey Anderson. And so I was in one of her classes, and I got out, praised. And then transferred to the University of Florida and got my undergraduate degree, and then graduated from the University of Florida. So, it's that type of connection that gives you some type of assurance that, yes, people will look at you and say, hey, yeah, that person is capable or should be capable. Then you have to go and prove to them that you're capable.
But we know we're capable.
Right, and just like James had the interview with Mr. Midgley, Douglas Midgley, and he interviewed him and hired him. When he interviewed me, he says, I'm interested in hiring you. I just need to know who your references would be. And I said, I have references, and I have Melvin Morgan as one of my references. He says, if she says yes, you're hired. So coming back home and having those type of connections and having the background and the exposure to my community, it allowed me to advance. And it was those type of relationships. And it was, I knew what Ms. Morgan was going to say, because I have been mentored under her through our church organization and her connection with my family. So it was just one of those things. And other people in the community helped me. George Sanders was instrumental in making sure I was exposed to a lot of stuff. And my mom worked for him. So that was the connection there.
You mentioned Edison, but I don't think you mentioned your law school.
University of Florida.
You did say that? Okay.
That was my second degree from the University of Florida.
'cause
I'm a double gator.
So I'm from the state of Alabama, but I'm not a roll tider, but I'm a roll tider by being from the state of Alabama. So we like beating up on you guys all the time. And
well,
we like
Gator
beating up
Man
on the
needs
Seminoles.
no introduction.
And then, of course, Judge and I, we both got that historical black college piece. That's right. So so that's all this wide range of diversity, and we all ended up right here. I want to give you guys, before we wrap it up, I want to give, I'm just going to keep it to one word, one thing of advice to people who are looking at you and saying, hey, I want to be like that one day. What do they may need to hone in on, some things they need to make sure they take care of if they want to have the opportunity to realize their full potential. Let's start over with you with Judge Adams.
Hard work and perseverance. You can accomplish anything.
Always be willing to give away and give back, because you'll always receive more than you give.
To be involved, to know that if you're living in Lee County, you are a part of Lee County. There is nothing that you should not have access to. And also help people. If you can help somebody, then you'll make connections, and networking, it goes a long way, and people will know what your interests are. Like you said, if people know you, they understand you, and they are willing to support you. So it's so important that we encourage everyone to be involved, because there's so much that is needed to happen in our community. And I couldn't have said it better myself. And I know everybody out there is saying, well, Lee got the coolest job. And it's true. I get to just hobnob with my friends like this. Hey, my word of advice is something that I always say. For those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those who are
Doing it.
We'll see you.
Lee Pitts Live is a Lee Pitts Enterprise production.
Hello, Southwest Florida. Thanks for watching Lee Pitts Live. Of course, I'm Lee Pitts. I hope you enjoy that particular show, but you can always catch us here on YouTube. Just click on the subscribe button down there. That way you can get your Lee Pitts Live on demand when you want it and how you want it. We also encourage you to watch our show on Fox 4 and connect with us on all our social media platforms. Just type in Lee Pitts Live.